Okay. Right.
So do we need to press it, or is it on?
No, it's on now.
Okay.
Oh, is it on? Okay. Okay, well I can read the first one. What, if any, changes have you made to your home to make your energy use more efficient and more environmentally friendly?
Okay. Do you want to go
Well,
first?
we've got solar panels, double glazing, and now an air source heat pump. And when we moved in, we didn't have any of those.
Yeah, we've got. Oh, actually, this is one of the things that I can't remember. We've definitely got solar panels. We've got solar panels put in the. We actually got them put into the garden because there wasn't enough roof space or something. We were told way back. Yeah, we've got some extra ones in the garage, and we've got an air source heat pump like you, and we've got insulation, quite a lot of insulation. Yeah, have you as well? Have you as well? Yeah,
Insulation
because
too. I completely forgot. Yeah,
because when we moved in, it was like we only had a multi-fuel stove downstairs, and I do remember there was ice on the upstairs. Like the multi-fuel stove fed a few of the radiators downstairs, but the upstairs there was nothing, and there was no insulation, and so in the middle of the winter you got ice on the inside of the windows, that sort of thing. So yeah.
You've reminded me. We had that too when the kids were little. There'd be before we got all the changes, there'd be ice, thick ice on the inside of the windows when we got up in the morning.
Well, with single glazed window.
Yeah.
I think we did have double glazing, but it was
freezing.
ancient double glazing, so it was all rotten windows. And that's the thing. We've had new windows put in, but that's only recently.
Right.
I think we're the same. Solar panels, air source heat pump. The house was double glazed when we bought it. I think it's quite old double glazing, though it could probably do with new windows. And there is insulation, not in the walls because the walls are solid stone, so the insulation's in the attic. But it's very, very thick insulation in the attic. So
But there's different kinds of insulation, aren't there? Because we couldn't get insulation in our walls for the same reason.
yeah.
So we got, I don't remember what it's called, but when they build an extra wall on the external walls, and then in your house, then they fill that with insulation.
Okay.
So that's what we
creating
had.
a cavity.
Yeah,
And then
that's what we had done.
and that was on the external walls.
Yeah, like all the ones that just
Yeah, they
had
empty.
outside on the other side of them.
Yeah.
They got another wall built inside and then that filled.
Because you couldn't get it on the outside. We got it actually. We got a great big wad of something polystyrene like smacked on the outside of our walls. I think that was called external wall insulation.
Or maybe we had I don't even know what it's called, but I just remember it meant that we had walls built inside the house, which
I know we have a sunroom attached to the back of our house, which just drains like. In the summer it's like a sauna, in the winter it's like ice, it's freezing. So I know my husband he bought insulation, so he insulated the lower walls because it's mostly windows being a sunroom, and that's made a huge difference since he
Are the windows still?
Windows are still the same, but the lower part of the building, the walls he insulated all the way around there, and that's definitely it's made a difference.
You
Yeah,
didn't think it would make so much difference
I was
in all the windows. That's good.
yeah. It's just, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a massive difference, but just
Takes the edge off
marginally
it.
takes the edge off it.
I remember my husband climbing up in the, because we've got one of those 1.5 story houses, so it's like the upstairs is, you've kind of not got an attic, you've just got the ceilings at a sloping angle, and so there's very little space between the ceiling and the roof, and he literally crawled up into it, and he was just like, he was covered head to toe with, I think it was rock wool or something, so he stuck in himself. I think the insulation, if anything, has made the biggest difference for us. And also underfloor insulation, I think he put in. Because, I remember him raising the floor level. Like all our doors, the handles are actually lower down because it's such an old house. So he had to raise the height of the floor because he put a layer of insulation down and what's it called? Underfloor heating on top of that.
Oh wow!
And then just like the flooring. So now it feels like the handles of all the doors are really low down. Which literally sort of wound up when I'm coming in. So this sounds ridiculous, but when I'm coming in from the through the front door into the porch, and you're carrying lots of bags or something. I literally open the door from the porch into the main room with my foot.
Hobbit handles. Hobbit handles.
Hobbit handles, yeah.
It's fun.
That's probably not what you do if you're doing it.
Change the look of it, can't you? Because we got extra walls built inside and we had cornices around, they took and what are the, I don't remember what all the different bits are called that you have stuck on walls, but they took those off and put them on again.
The picture
but because
rails.
or there's sort of one above the.
Oh yeah, the bit on the edge.
Yeah,
between the ceiling
all these different things going around the ceiling. So they took that off, and they put it on again. But because they hadn't, it wasn't like the whole room was a little bit smaller. It was like say 2 walls of each room. Were
smaller.
So then the cornicing and stuff that they put back on, it kind of doesn't meet, and they did quite a clever thing to sort of make it look, to disguise it slightly, like making it curve in at the top, but it's still, if you look at it, you can it's a little a little bit odd. There was one sort of tricky bit that they would have needed to do to stick it to complete this illusion that it was just and apparently the guy who was a bit of a an expert would have told them how to do that. He didn't turn up at the last bit, so they just didn't do it, and they told us if we wanted to do it, we'd have to take it all off again and do it again. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't look at it, and it's made so much difference.
Yeah,
so,
that's the main thing.
But when you're talking about these funny things that you get left with,
it changes the size of the room slightly, and the proportions or something.
Yeah. It's not quite the same, but it's...
Yeah, we've got the same, not exactly the same, but we've got, I think we did have external, we had internal wall insulation before we then got a grant or something to get external wall insulation. So the internal walls have also had a layer of this sort of something put up of the external walls. So, so it's inside, but on the wall that is like yours facing outside, rather than between the rooms.
Yeah.
And it's the same, it's like, it goes right almost to the ceiling, and then there's like a ridge, so it doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling for some reason. I don't know why, and it just looks a bit odd. But again, it's this aesthetic. It's not a big deal, really.
Most people, I don't think, would notice in ours. It's like you notice if you're really interested in those things, and you peer up.
I was a bit disappointed that I didn't get our solar panels didn't go on the roof, because I found like with our solar panels, sorry, this is probably really digressing, but our solar panels could only fit in the garden because we've got quite a big garden. What they did when they fitted them in was they put weed suppressant and bark between these 2 rows of solar panels. And that was great for the first couple of years, but of course now all the weeds have just grown up through them, which we're trying to keep on top of, but we're just not. And it actually, what that means is, I think, is it stops the solar panels from working. So it's just not very efficient.
They're a bit shaded by the weeds.
There's some sort of, I don't know, there's some technical thing that you have to have. It worked for a few years. An inverter, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, it stops it from being a problem. If one is shaded, then it doesn't really affect the others. But now that inverter's broken and there's nobody there to replace it or something. It's just been several years now that it's not been working, because what that means is, I think the one solar panel that's shaded now like wipes out the rest of them. It's kind of like we don't have solar panels, but we've just got this, they did all that work, but they haven't maintained it. And
that's annoying.
Yeah, it's a bit.
I was going to just say that we couldn't have them on our roof either, because it pointed the wrong way apparently. So we've got them on our garage. So we needed to actually extend the garage roof. So we got a grant for the solar panels. I think did we get a grant? We got a bit of a grant and a loan, I think, and then sort of interest-free loan or something. But then we had to actually use some money just to get the garage roof a bit bigger. But it's, it works now.
Yeah, I think it has saved us money altogether. Like all the things that have been done, I have just left it up to my husband to do it, but it has saved us money. I think we are better off. Like we used to spend quite a lot of money on the multi-fuel stove. I do remember that. And then at some point we got the air source heat pump, and it's just much cleaner as well. I just remember having to clean out the grate and all the soot, and every day having to haul down the coal, and it was just quite dirty. And then I remember being pregnant, having to feed that multi-fuel stove, and it was just so heavy. And I think my husband went away, and I just couldn't hack it. I just couldn't manage to do it. It was just not. I didn't want to be crouching down, cleaning out every day, and all of that. Yeah. And then just not having to worry about that, having radiators and knowing it's not oil, I suppose. But even if it had been oil, I probably would have been happier than that multi-fuel. It's lovely having the fire, isn't it? Like the actual flames of it. But I just cleaning it out. Anyway, should we read another question? If you have had your home retrofitted, what changes have you had to make to your lifestyle? Have you had to make to your lifestyle or the way that you use your living space?
I don't think we've had to make any changes to our lifestyle, and the only change to our living space is that it's actually can sit downstairs, because it used to never get more than about 12 degrees downstairs, even with the heating on, because it was just heating the street. And then when we first got the double glazing, and then when we got the wall insulation, it just became quite cosy. I remember if I had ever had people round, I had to I'd put on, the heating would be on, I'd light the fire, and sometimes I'd even have a radiator going as well, because it was so freezing. And sometimes I'd notice if people were in for dinner, they'd literally be putting on.
I think I remember coming round to your house and having the fire on. I think obviously you'd warmed it up so nicely that I didn't realise it was a big thing. It was so lovely and cosy to come and see your fire.
That's what I do. People were coming round, but when people weren't, we didn't really use that area much because it was freezing. But now you can sit down there comfortably. So I wouldn't say we had to change any lifestyle thing.
I think
but it's
we're the same. We can now use. Well, we have wood burning stove in our kitchen area, which is like a kitchen diner, but our downstairs living room was never ever used because it was just all in the summer it's great because it's the one cool room in the house, but in the winter it was so Baltic cold, like just miserable cold, and it was damp and there was always mould in the walls. So I have to say, since we've had the heating put in and to come home to a warm house, the difference is just, especially in winter when you open the door and you just feel that heat, it's just amazing. Because normally we would just get in, drop our stuff, and we'd all and actually most winters, the majority of the time, we would get home from work, we'd all just get our jammies on and we'd all just go and sit in beds with the electric blanket on because the house was too cold to sit in, and we couldn't be bothered setting the fire. It was such a and plus the cost of wood was so expensive. We'd have to spend the whole year stockpiling wood in the garden just to feed the fire over winter.
You have to put on so much.
I mean, the fact that our stove eats up so much.
They're not efficient.
And it wasn't efficient, and it would only keep the kitchen warm. It wouldn't the heat. We were told the heat would go through to the living room, and it didn't. So you would plug in heaters, which were extortionately expensive. So in the end, we just spent most winters
just under the duvet.
Yeah, under the duvet. And now that we've got this heating system, this central heating in, it's just amazing. It's like, and the best thing is just going up and going, do you know what, I'm just going to crank this up to 22 now, which might not be very environmentally friendly, but you know.
but the insulation's
I'm enjoying the heat,
isn't it? So it's like it maybe isn't. You're probably not burning through as much fuel to be able to.
Years of being utterly frozen to just suddenly having heat was just so. I think. Yes, and I've noticed a change, that we don't have so much damp and mould downstairs now. It's just
that's been the same for us with our windows. Actually, that was literally only last year we got new windows. Finally able to afford them, you know, and it's the same for us. We were getting respiratory problems all year round, really. We'd all like my son he'd go to bed and he would straight away start sneezing and coughing, and you know, the mould that would be on the window frames, and you know, coming through that glass that was just so old and letting through condensation or whatever it was doing, but it wasn't. It was so unhealthy. And we all definitely feel more healthy since having the new
definitely. I've just noticed like a complete change since we've had it put in.
I really resonate with what you're saying about coming in and feeling the warmth, because like you, you'd come in, and it wouldn't matter if the heating was still on. We'd have to, in winter, you'd be having before we got the insulation done, even if the heating was on, you'd go out and you'd come back and it'd still feel quite freezing, so you wouldn't want to really hang around. It wouldn't be all that pleasant. And if you'd actually turned the heating off, it would just be absolute hell. But now, coming in, since we've had the wall insulation and the windows insulated, if you've had the heating on for a little bit in the morning and then you turn it off because you're going out for a bit, you come in, you can still feel the warmth. It's like a miracle. What is this magic? And it's just so much
witchcraft.
more. And like they say, I'd actually forgotten about that horrible, you know, it's like a grim rush to make it kind of feel habitable for everyone. And now you can just sort of come in and relax, and it's just And
I also noticed with having the heating, like this, the smell of damp's gone. That you would come home and the smell of that cold damp would just hit the back of your nostrils, and you'd be like, oh, I hate this. And I've noticed now with the heating, 'cause it's kind of dried the house out.
Brilliant.
It's just
That's so good.
It's just you don't have that kind of
hitting you,
toxic, horrible. Just feeling like you're living in the Victorian age sometimes. I really felt like that sometimes.
And I felt like a little house in the prairie with the ice was on the windows.
I know, you're thinking, for goodness sake, it's like, you know, sort of 21st century. How we live like this.
Although there's something about wanting, you know, we don't have a stove anymore. There's something about having a real fire, which I do miss a little bit. But you know, that's something down the line. I'd quite like to get a little stove just for the kind of the extra prettiness, or also when we get a power cut, because the power cut thing does bother me. Although we've now, I forgot to mention, the other thing that we've got is a battery system, and we've got a battery and we've got a thermal store. Is that the same thing?
I don't know, but I'm interested because I've also been I heard about this too.
It's something about, because when we get a power cut, I think it's not working that efficiently yet. But the theory is that then the battery can at least keep some of the things going, like maybe just a fridge and a freezer and some lights, or maybe not yet the fridge and freezer. I think that's the some basic things anyway. It's meant to keep, probably not the heating or anything, but really handy. So it's just that reassurance. But in terms of and actually yes, because we do get power cuts here, don't we? And
we do.
And sometimes it can be for several days, and at least now I feel like it's not. You can still stay warm, as you were both saying. You can still stay warm for several days. Like, it gets cooler by the third or fourth day.
It's not like a morgue at the end of one day.
You're not shifted with blue lips at the end of the day. So that's much better. But that's mostly the insulation, isn't it, really? And then, but I do think, having a little stove would help just top it up when you needed it for an emergency or something.
I've realised there is one change I think we had to make to our lifestyle now I think about it, and that is with washing, because in the past, I mean, I wouldn't normally be putting things on the radiators, but if I needed something quickly, you know, I mean, but my son, you know, he's never remembering to do his laundry, and so he would suddenly realise he wanted some clean things for going out, and he would do it and stick it on the heater. I can't do that now, because that took me a little bit of getting used to. The air source heat pump it's like a different heat. It's not, you don't feel that blast of direct heat as you go by. But and at first I sort of missed that, but now I really like the, you know, it's summer now, so I feel like I've not experienced what it's like in the winter, and I hope it'll be, you know, good enough. But what I have noticed is when we had a bit of a colder time and the evenings are still quite chilly, I didn't feel any temperature fluctuation really. The room just, the house just felt comfortable. But the washing, you can't dry, you can't dry things suddenly. So
I know what you mean.
That feel like that needs a bit of more forward planning, because we don't have a tumble dryer. So now, well, what we've done is we've got a dehumidifier, and we've got, now that one of the kids isn't there, use her room and we put have clothes for if we can't dry outside, if it has to be done inside, we put it there, and it's got the dehumidifier, and that seems to work pretty quickly.
Yeah, because we got one too, without the dehumidifier it just creates more damp then, doesn't it? That slow heat, and then things can smell a bit mildewy if they're not drying quickly.
But doing
enough.
like that they kind of often dry pretty much overnight, or in a sort of night and a bit of the next day. A lot of things will be dry, so that's something, I guess, that took a little bit of what do I do now?
Same with not having the stove for me, like not having the
direct
the fire
heat that you
right
want
there
to use for certain things.
You can't dry things quickly in front of that.
Yeah, but I think it's just being a little bit more organised, and just also with a dehumidifier that helps.
I was going to say, I think it's almost like you have to invest in more gadgets, because we do have a tumble dryer, kind of partly for that reason. I mean, again, it's quite an energy efficient one, and I think it's but we didn't before, and we have a dehumidifier as well, because we do sometimes hang things up. It's almost like you have to get even more high tech.
But I feel like haven't done that in other respects, and it's only the dehumidifier. We'd actually got that before anyway, so it's just now we kind of make that is the way to dry it, and it's just a bit more. Do you have any problems with damp, mould, condensation, poor ventilation? How do you cope with these problems?
We do.
Oh, do you?
Do you still?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, it's in the summer more I think that's the way the house has been restructured, because we had downstairs off our living room, we have a shower room that was put in because the previous tenant couldn't get up the stairs, so they had to restructure the whole downstairs to make it like a mini bungalow. So having a shower room that's not had proper ventilation put in makes it quite challenging, because the one thing that we found, we have 2 bathrooms. We have one upstairs and then the shower room downstairs, but because our house is so old, we had to disconnect one of our showers. It was to do with electrical. We were told it was a fire hazard and didn't meet code, so we had to so in the end we disconnected the upstairs, because we needed the downstairs in case our mums came to visit, because they can't manage the stairs, and we would need a downstairs bathroom. Plus upstairs there's a bath, and downstairs there's a shower room. So thinking ahead, if we sold the house, it looks better if you've got, if you've got a downstairs shower room with a shower that's been disconnected, is not really a great feature, is it? It's a waste of space. So we chose to keep the downstairs bathroom connected, shower connected, and had the upstairs one disconnected. So they did all the whatever they do behind the walls, cutting things and tying it all up. Anyway, it can't be repowered, it's just a bathroom now. So we now use the downstairs shower room. So of course, because of the poor ventilation in that shower room, you get lots of steam that comes out the shower room. So we still have to have dehumidifiers downstairs and the window open quite often, just to kind of help dispel that, because we get a lot of damp. So it can still smell quite damp downstairs, and it's not pleasant. That was a big lifestyle change that we had to do, which was really frustrating, as you said.
Was that because of the retrofitting that you had to get those changes?
Yes,
oh, I see.
We were told choose which bathroom you want to keep. And it was really frustrating, because I was like, well, I don't really want to lose one of the, because previously we always used the upstairs shower room because it was more we'd had ventilation put in the roof to help, because the house is so old and stone walls and all that, so that helped massively, putting vents in the roof. So we always used the upstairs bathroom because we had a shower over the bath.
But now you have to use it downstairs.
Now, and then of course, now that we've made that change, it's like my mother-in-law is no longer able to visit down here. She was the main reason why we kind of did that, and that my mum's very unlikely to stay in the house as well. So
very frustrating.
The 3 of us are now stuck using the downstairs shower room, which you imagine 3 showers a day, the steam, and the shower, the vent goes into a different, a side storeroom, so it doesn't actually go to the outdoors. So it's not really. Yeah, so that was the hardest part for us with that retrofitting, was having to disengage one of our, and it's apparently it was because I was really frustrated about that, but apparently it was because the house is that old, and it was to do with
It is hard, isn't it, with older
so that
houses?
was challenging. Yes, that was
They're always
quite frustrating.
unique.
Yeah.
Each one is going to be different and have different challenges. Sometimes the insulation I think is great, but that is maybe one of the things that there's less ventilation. You know, so that's actually sometimes the damp.
Yeah,
we got vents put in when they put our walls.
Yeah,
we
did too.
we did.
Yeah, I think it's with the old houses, though it is because we actually had to move. A couple of radiators had to be moved to different places.
Yes,
and I was a bit like, when I heard about that, because you know when you've got things arranged and you're thinking, how am I going to arrange it now if it's if you know? So we managed to though. And my husband was going, well, just think of it as though you're moving into a new house and you were just making it.
I was surprised how big those radiators. I was amazed at how massive the radiators are.
Oh, really? Because I thought mine were small. I was expecting really big.
Oh, really?
Because we had the old storage heaters and we'd gradually taken all them out and put eco heaters in the house, and we did that over a couple of years, and they weren't the best despite being recommended, and they didn't last very long. So when we got the opportunity to do this, we took it, and I just remember the size of these heaters is maybe it's because we've got small rooms, but the amount of space they have taken up. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm loving the heat, but has, like you say, with furniture, it's made it very difficult. We had to get rid of furniture because the heaters took up, and it was the amount of heaters we needed as well. We needed, you know, in like some of the rooms, I think what got me was the kitchen needed to have 2 radiators put in the kitchen, despite it being the kitchen and a wood burning stove in the kitchen. I was like, why am I getting 2 massive radiators?
That seems strange.
And they gave us a reason, and I think it was to do with how many and the connections and all that kind of stuff. And I'm looking at our kitchen going, oh my goodness, it's so cramped. Like I had to get rid of stuff. And now now the walls are closing in even more because these they're huge, they're really long and they're really wide.
I'm really surprised. It shows. I don't know if it's different companies then, or if it's different houses. Because we were told initially we had oil central heating at first, and we were told that when we had the house sort of looked at and assessed for an air source heat pump, we were told, well, you'll have to expect that the radiators will be a lot bigger. Yeah. And I was just, he said they'd be taller, they might be wider, but in fact, not only are they just the same size as the ones that they're kind of like that one that we see on the wall behind us.
1 metre.
Yeah, it's about 1 metre and just a few inches, sort of.
About that in depth as well.
Oh, that's more like a storage heater. That's what.
Yeah, they're about the deep, about
like
that.
A foot, almost
like
a
you
foot,
literally we can like. You could sit and pile. You could use it as a
that's really weird because the rooms in our house are quite big, and not only that, but one of the rooms that we previously had 2 in, they said we only needed 1 in now, and it's got one that's like a metre long, a few inches wide. Instead, it used to have 2. That's so strange. Wondering what makes them make the decisions. It would be.
I did get quite frustrated. I remember it was my husband dealt mainly with the company who were coming and doing them, and there was a couple of things I just like absolutely. I had to go with the flow as much as possible. There was a couple of things I was like, absolutely not. I do not putting a radiator there because that means having to significantly move stuff around, and so I think they were a bit like, I think there was a bit of grumbling about that, and they were kind of like, we'll have to re-drop the plans and change this and change that. And I was like,
but you've got to live with it, haven't you?
We have to live with it, so and I didn't expect to have that
not
many.
Their convenience, it's yours. It's what matters.
And our living room is tiny, and we have 2 huge heaters in it.
Makes no sense. I don't understand.
So
you don't have your stove anymore. Do you still have your?
We've still got a kitchen. This is what I couldn't understand was in the kitchen. I said, why am I getting 2 massive? Well, one's maybe about that width.
That metre.
About that wide, but the depths of them are about that wide.
Almost a foot.
Yeah, they're deep, and then we've got a huge one under the kitchen window plus the kitchen stove, and I'm like, I'm never going to use a stove again.
I mean,
it did feel a bit extreme.
Yeah, because we've got underfloor heating in the downstairs, which I think maybe makes a difference because we've also got some radiators around the house, and it just means that the radiators don't need to be as big or not as many because of the underfloor heating.
We don't have underfloor heating. It'll be interesting to see come winter if our place is warm enough. But it's so weird because what would have been our living room, which we ended up moving into, it's a big room and it used to have 2 oil radiators. We've taken out and just put one, about a metre long, sort of thin. I wonder if it's different companies do it differently. I mean, I have no idea.
Because that is a bit annoying though.
When they came to deliver it, because we had to move out in order to get the stuff put in because the cables couldn't go under the floors. They had to get put into the side of the walls because we've got concrete floors downstairs. So we moved out for about 3 days, and all the furniture had to be piled into the middle of the room so they could do all the stuff, and all the carpets had to come up. It was
quite a lot of upheaval.
It was a big upheaval.
It's worth it.
But we thought we were worth it because it was so cold. And I remember when they delivered the radiators, and the radiators had to sit in the house for a couple of days, and when they came, I just remember my husband being, what is this?
He wasn't expecting them to be that big.
He could not believe the size of them. Right. He was, and I was just like,
It's kind
of
upsetting.
I was a bit kind of like, okay, this is like my house is like, small enough without these like. And I think I was just really surprised that something that was meant to be like super eco-efficient was like this big.
It's like massive 1980s mobile phones.
It's
the 80s.
I just thought that and I'm sure they gave some reason as excuse as to why they were this big, but I was just kind of like, great, my house is even smaller now. It's just
that's quite significant. That's quite significant.
I know.
But it's strange that we've all had different experiences though. It's strange that that's something that you've
that's what I hear. That's what I hear about. If you hear people talking about it, some people seem to have great experiences and some people don't have such good experiences. And I have heard that different companies will do it different ways, and I don't know, but maybe with old houses there's reasons they had to do it, because I know that's why they had to change some stuff on ours, and the electrician had to do really weird thing because the wiring's so odd, and you had to go in through we had to empty our larder, and you had to go in there and like sort of dig his way up through the house.
We had that,
and I moved out too. My husband didn't, but I thought, I can't bear it. There was no run. Just for about 2.5 days, I think. They kept turning the water off. Some of the floors were up. And I said I wouldn't come back till it was all sorted. So
that was the same.
Yes.
Gosh.
Oh dear.
And I think the worst part was that they'd forgot to connect some of the wires or something, so we had no water upstairs. And I was just like, we've got no water, because they disconnected our water for some reason. So my husband went to phone and go, you guys need to come back. And but it was also the kind of the process with it. There seemed to be like, so the guy that came around to assess the house to begin with, to decide how energy efficient the house was, or lacking energy efficient, and he came around and said, oh, you'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And then the contractor, when he came around, he goes, oh yeah, they talk the big talk. He says, yeah, easy for them to come in with their little clipboards and just say this and this. He says, that's not how it works at all. This is what's going to happen. And we were like, oh.
That's really
and so we were getting, it was like we're getting 2 lots of information, and it was like the right hand didn't know what the left was doing.
Do you know, that's really making me think about, that's just really ringing true for me, because I feel like we've had quite a lot of different things done to our house, and they've all been from different grants and different companies coming in, and it's actually like when we have some sort of electrical fault, for example, it's a nightmare. Like electricians coming into our house, they just sort of look at all these different units. We've got the battery, we've got I don't even know what they have to deal with, but like several different electricians have said to us, oh, this is quite complicated, isn't it?
Had the same,
and it's as you say, like, one company doesn't talk to the other company, or then getting people to follow up, like with the solar panels, years down the line they haven't fixed this problem, their solar panels are not working anymore, so it's like you've got these great big eyesores in the garden, with no return. It's great when they were generating electricity, and and it's just, it does feel like there's so much complexity that when there's a problem, it's not really in our control. And you don't. I mean, actually, I don't deal with it. I'm just looking at one of these questions. Sorry, who makes decisions on maintenance and repair in your home? If there is a problem, how is it sorted? That for me is quite a disempowering thing.
Yeah.
Because, of course, my husband has been the one to sort of initiate and drive all of this, and I am grateful and happy. And he's not gone along and done it without consulting me, but I guess I have sort of left it to him to discuss with these different companies and organisations, because I trust he's quite into it, and I'm just happy to live in theory with the results of it. But actually, when there is a problem, it's the maintenance of all of that goes out the window. And like, if my husband's away, I don't really know who to call about it, or which I guess just normal electrician, but sometimes they don't really know, who installed this? Well, I'm not sure.
That question matches up with that one about how do you feel you understand how well do you feel you understand how your heating and ventilation systems work? Do you feel like you have full control over the quality of your indoor environment and your comfort? I would not have a clue. I know how to turn it up, but see, if the whole system went down, I wouldn't have a clue where to start.
I'm exactly the same. I had no clue. And to be honest, when I went to stay at a friend's house, she has oil heating, and it was just like you press a button to switch it on, and you press a button to switch it off. Well, with ours, you press several different buttons to go to different. I don't even know what. I mean, even just the heating and the water, it's not just that. It's like it's just all these different programs, and I actually have to ask my husband almost every time if it's not on the normal setting, or like if we're going away on holiday and we've got to put it on a holiday setting. Well, I have to say, he says, just put it on a holiday setting. Well, what does that mean? And I'm usually quite good about these things, but it's so complicated. It's definitely, I don't feel like I'm in control.
Well, that's something that I absolutely put my foot down about, because it is usually my husband as well that drives these things. He researches it and, come up with it. And I guess I felt a bit pushed to do it. But now I'm glad that he did, and actually the house is a lot more warm and comfortable. But when it was done, that was my worry, because with an oil boiler, I knew exactly who to call if something went wrong, and I knew exactly how to work it. So with this one, it didn't see initially the first I was saying it's kind of cold tonight, and they're stone cold, the heaters, but it must be working because we've got hot water, like lots of hot water. That was good. And I said, who do we call? And my husband didn't know initially. He wasn't sure. And I was just like, I've got to know it. You're not going anywhere. I need to know exactly what. And actually, we did get good customer service. Like someone came round, and then I got included in an email. It was funny. I don't know. We got copied in, so it was from one of the, maybe the people who fitted, or the sort of an inspector guy who came to see. He goes, the wife doesn't understand how to use it at all. You'll need to send. No, but I was glad he was.
But the way they said it,
I know it's your husband said that.
No, he was saying the wife doesn't understand how to use it at all. She needs to know. Someone has to go round.
Okay, so when you said it, I just thought the wife, and
I
was
know.
just kind of
You feel quite disempowered already, and a bit foolish for not understanding.
Well, I didn't though, because when it had been done, I don't feel I did get spoken to about it, so I was kind of glad he kind of, which is what I've been saying. I need to know. I can't just be waiting for my husband to do it. So, and what I find is, because my husband's so enthusiastic about all eco things, that when I was saying, like, the radiators are stone cold, he was just saying, well, they don't work the same way that oil ones do. They won't feel hot. And I was going, but it's not even hot at all. It's absolutely cold.
I had that. Yeah.
Did you? So a guy did come about it. I know. I felt that a bit, because he's just wanting to see that everything was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, he wanted it to be okay.
And so I was okay.
And I was like, going, well, actually, it doesn't seem to be working. But then, because I think it must have been, I don't know if it's the same guys that we had a sort of quite good follow-up thing. So the one that said the wife doesn't understand it at all, he arranged for someone to come round, and that guy talked me he realised, because he cranked it up to 30 degrees. I didn't even know how to turn it up. I only knew it was just sort of on what it was on, what they'd set it at, and I didn't know how to change it. So he cranked it up to 30, which meant that all the heaters, and finally, I've not been imagining it, 2 of the radiators aren't working. And he balanced it all, got them working, and then explained. And my husband was saying, well, why didn't you just ask me? And I said, well, you haven't explained it. You didn't seem to be able to tell me clearly what I needed. Whereas this guy actually did. So now I feel a lot better. And I don't have to press any buttons at all unless I want to change something, and it doesn't seem too hard. And I actually now feel, and I also know exactly who to call.
I think I need to get a bit more self-informed
because
about all of that, because it just seems like there are too many systems though. For me, for us,
you've got a few different things.
We've got different systems, the battery and
it?
I don't know where to start really. And when something goes wrong, we do have a bit of an electrical weird thing going on there. We have one of many, but you just wonder who's done what. But like when our oven gets up to temperature, it flips the switch. So it's like every time it's like, oh, there it is, I'm on it. Somebody goes to have to flip the switch, and and we've had electricians out, and it was only since I think the battery was installed that's been happening. So you think,
there's something linked there.
Something's linked, but nobody can get to the bottom of it. And all these electricians have come around.
I just get completely. I'm someone who needs an idiot's guide when it comes to technology stuff. It is literally, it's just like step 1, press this button. Step 2, press this button. I need my. I think
everybody needs that.
So that's not a weird thing to
unless I'm dealing with it every single day. I will forget. So like in the winter, it was absolutely fine. When I'd come down in the morning, I knew exactly. I could go to the panel on the wall, fiddle around with it, go through the process, up the temperature. Never brought the temperature, and I was always putting it up. I was going to be like, I think we could let's keep it in the sort of like the most efficient mode. And I'm like, the minute he was out to work, I was like straight back up to like 24. It's like, because he would know, he'd come back, he goes, we had the heating up today, and I said, I might have done. I said, it's December, of course I'm going to put the heating up. And I said, look, it'll balance out in the summer when we've got like the solar panels and we don't have to pay electricity for like 3 months, hopefully. So, which I think he's starting to see now, because we've not had an electric bill for like the last 2 months, which has been
really
great.
Good. We were a bit better off now.
Definitely. I think the only thing is too. So again, this is a thing I don't really understand. It's just like especially when we've got the heat wave, when your solar panels absorb so much electricity that it sort of starts almost going backwards, and then it's just like, where does that excess power go? Is it going back into the grid?
That's why it's going backwards, because you're not now.
You're not taking electricity.
You're not taking where it's coming from your battery.
You're selling it to the grid. They're paying you for your electricity. I
don't think they do.
Or do they not?
I don't think they do. No.
Is that not what?
That's what. It depends on which deal you've got.
There's different ways.
I just seem to remember there's some sort of. I don't know. I haven't kind of quite got into that. It sounded a little bit. I don't know, but we've not had a bill, so it's been really. That's when. Don't tell your husband this, but that's when we're not very environmentally friendly. We're just like, stick the tumble dryer on. It might be 25 degrees outside, but we need those clothes dried. And we've got free electricity.
That's what we do, exactly. And there's a lot of running around of like, okay, the sun's shining, we've got to do this, that, and the other. You don't use the toaster until the sun comes out. That's my husband for you.
That's a good bed covers. That's a nice thing about having solar panels, isn't it? That you can. I mean, it would drive me mad sometimes listening to how long my son is in the shower if I didn't think, the solar panels right now.
My daughter's the same.
That's really true. Yeah, because we've got some solar panels. Most of the solar panels are not working, but we've got like a new set on the garage that is working, and we're the same. Like that's just sort of breaking even for us. But we just think, what we're losing out from. One of the faults is this inverter that is not working, and what we would be actually, because we are paid for the electricity when we generate it more than we generate more than we're using on the solar panels.
I think we just have a big battery that means it stores it, and then we use it from that until it's.
I'm going to go home and ask these people. I think the problem for me was I am just so not interested in tech stuff and all that kind of stuff, and whereas my husband thrives, he loves it.
I just want it to work. I just want it to do the job and just to live my life.
And see, when it all got put in, he was so fun. And actually, I think he did try and explain to me. He's just like, come and see this, come and see this. And I was like, I don't actually care as long as it's like
I'm a warm, kind of get hot water.
Exactly.
Can I
so maybe
and
should
do
pay more attention. But yeah, I don't think. I now want to know what happens to our surplus electricity, because I'm sure we're not getting paid.
Maybe you need to check up on that, because that I think you ought to be.
We don't. Is it to do with smart meters or something?
I don't know. We don't have.
Oh yeah, if you don't have one, it's different. You literally see our electricity going backwards now, which is always nice to see. But that wouldn't happen if it was a smart meter, and then different stuff happens. But I can't remember what on earth I was told about that. I just.
I don't know.
That's where it gets complicated, doesn't it?
It does, and I do get to. My husband has definitely told me how to operate different things before, and I remember it for the first or second time. But then I just want to carry on, like we're saying. I just want to carry on and live my life, and not. I just don't retain that information for the next time it's necessary, which might be 6 months down the line.
It's probably because you've got a ton of other stuff
you do.
Full of house admin, life admin, kid admin, and there isn't room for those facts.
For those someone else is not interested enough in it to think.
But do you know what? I think you've hit the nail. I was going to say it's because you're so busy doing a million other things, like getting the kids from A to B, and. Like you say, house admin and managing everything else, and juggling work, and like massively multitasking, that your brain just cannot actually fit that information in as well, because you've got so many other things going on.
Outsource that.
That can feel disempowering, though. I do think that does feel disempowering. If you don't hold on to it, you can feel. I can feel a little bit stupid. Why don't I understand? I'm a fairly well-educated person. I passed all my exams and educated to degree level, but I just can't hold on to that information about how you operate this blooming system.
It does sound really complicated, though. I think that what you're saying about when you go for different grants and you've got different things done by different people, and you all sort of work around each other.
And this old property, which is not in any way sort of standardised, so they've all had to kind of make compromises and wire things differently, probably, and drill holes that they weren't meant to be able to access. I
don't think we've got that problem just with the solar panels and the thing. I think we've got just one person we can, we've got a team we can call or connect with each, and I was very insistent about knowing who that was. But what was the main reason for you to consider upgrading or making changes to your home? What challenges did you experience when the works were being done? We've already talked about this, haven't we, to some degree?
Yeah, I think our reason was it needed to be warm, and I think also the other reason for us is like making it a more sellable property, because who wants to buy a house that isn't central heated nowadays? So because we do want to sell up in the not too distant future, we needed to think, what does a house need to make it, because
everybody looks for that now, don't they? What's that rating that you get when
your efficiency? When you go and look at houses, when you go online to like Rightmove or whatever, the last picture is always the efficiency rating. How much does it cost to run this home? And we thought, if we make our house really, because it is an old house and it's got a lot of things that wouldn't make it attractive, we need to have something that would make it attractive and get that fit, because we would have been rock bottom for efficiency. So we needed to get it up. So that and wanting to be warm in winter were our reasons for doing it.
And for us, actually, it was also a bit of a money saver, I think.
Yeah, that too.
Because we were spending an awful lot of money on fuel. Yeah. Because it was all, as you say, heating the street, heating the atmosphere. It was all just escaping, and that's made a huge difference to us, and much more comfortable, as you were saying, to be in. But it's saved us money, and we are making money with the solar panels, and it's not in order to make money though. It's sort of more about saving it and not just like leaking money and energy everywhere. and just feeling a lot more efficient. And you feel good about it.
Yeah, our house was just so cold and hot, really unpleasant to be in a lot of the year because it was too cold and drafty.
Yeah.
So even though I'm a bit of I always kind of resist upheaval in the home, and I didn't really want, I was kind of a bit like, about the thought of, having it done. Now I'm really glad we have it. I mean, when we got the walls done, we actually went away for a week and we came back and it was done. But the furniture was all still in the middle of the room. There was dust everywhere, and I did feel a little bit like crying when I got into the room. However, a few days later, once we put things back, mopped and dust and everything, and I was thinking, oh my God, it's actually warm. Then I've never ever regretted it, and it seems really worth it.
Yeah,
I know that the eco-friendly thing was a big thing for us, because we did have a boiler. We had a boiler. It was working, central heating, but it is expensive as well. And we realised that if with the solar panels, that would help offset the electricity for the air source heat pump, and that might be cheaper for us. And I mean, I think we can't properly tell till winter's come and we see how we go,
because it's quite recent we had it installed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but we've had definitely lower electricity bills since we had the solar panels, for sure.
Yeah,
so that's definitely, even with having to pay some of our loan back monthly for the solar panels, it's still less than what we were paying just for the electricity bill. Definitely. And then at some point that'll be paid off, and then we won't have, so that's...
Yeah, my husband's kept records every year. My husband does that. And he often kind of, walks into the room and tells me some wonderful figure that he's delighted about. But it's all in the same trajectory, that it's all saving us money, compared to 10 years ago. Look how much we paid this year, or not paid at all.
That is good, considering how energy bills are such a big issue.
Going up and up and up, and what we would have paid this year, so much more anyway. What do you know about the carbon reduction targets in homes discussed by the Scottish Government, energy efficiency measures and clean heating systems? How is this applicable to your own home and situation? How important is it for you? I think you were talking about that, weren't you, in terms of the energy efficiency rating? Is that what it's asking about? Energy efficiency measures?
Think that
slightly different.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't really know anything about carbon reduction targets. Again, it's kind of where I switch off a little bit, or anything to do with the government, to be fair. But clean heating system and being efficient, it is important, because I think basically because what we're thinking of, and knowing, like, I mean, I was on Rightmove the other day and I found a beautiful home. It was lovely, kind of like dream home. Showed it to my husband and he was like, yeah, very nice, look at the energy efficiency rating is rock bottom, absolutely no. And I was
you'd
like,
have to spend a fortune again, getting
have
it
to
to
go
that
through
point.
all that again. And I kind of actually realised that that's a big thing for people.
Expect that now.
Yes,
We expect a certain level of.
So I guess
one thing I do know is I read. So I don't even know if this has been passed or what, but what I remember I read that a proposed bill from the Scottish Government was going to make all landlords have to phase out, dirty heating systems in their places, and that was like by, in a year or two. But homeowners had a bit longer, but they were going to have to as well.
Right.
And so, at some point, I think it's much longer. It's like, like 20 years from now or something. But I can't remember. But it was a much longer time. But it made me think, well, we're just going to have to do it at some point anyway.
Yeah.
And I was a bit worried because, you hear mixed things about air source heat pumps. Some people say their houses are lovely and cosy. Some people with old houses say, it's still a bit cold. And my husband's all saying, that's people who got it done a while ago and the technology wasn't as good as it is. And, I think that's probably true. It probably gets better all the time and there's a better infrastructure to support it. But, so I was wary about getting it. But just the fact that I sort of just thought, it's got to, we've got to happen. We've got to get rid of it at some point. So may as well just, that is...
let's do it sooner rather than later. I don't know about specific targets either, but I guess that there are grants, and there have been grants and loans and initiatives, and you've always got those cold callers of people saying, well, look, this, we could install this for you because it's free from the government, or maybe not free anymore, but it's just, there are certain grants that are being provided, and that's kind of, I've known that was being driven by the government.
We've had a lot done and we haven't had to pay for at all.
Yes,
not a penny, which is just brilliant, And if it works in the winter, it seemed we had the other day, me and my son, we had a deep bath one after the other, which you'd not normally but and the hot water was fine for that, and that gave me a bit of confidence.
Yeah, and actually, how important is it to us? It's been really important in terms of those targets, because we would never have been able to afford all of those things that we did without those grants and loans and
for sure we wouldn't either if we hadn't had that. It'd be just way out of people's, most people's ability, wouldn't it?
I think,